Hello everyone and good morning to this Friday's PAC talk. We have a couple more this afternoon. This is our first one today. It is my pleasure to introduce Becky Lairson. Becky has shaped the digital presence of nationally recognized organizations, social influencers, service providers, and innovative CPG brands for over a decade. She's been a proud member of the team at St. Louis's founded Hungry Planet since 2021, partnering in the mission to bend the curve on personal and planetary health as Senior Marketing Manager of Communications. I had the privilege of working under her as a marketing intern last summer, and I'm excited to hear what she has to share with Principia today. Please help me welcome Becky.
Thank you, Gracie, for the introduction and for the invitation. You know, when I was asked to speak today, I was so excited, but then I got a little bit nervous, which is super ironic, but it's not every day that as a marketer someone asks you to speak more. We usually are fighting for a chance to talk. But then, you know, I got a bit introspective about the fact of being nervous speaking to people, right? Because the reason that I have the chance to chat with you guys today is because that's what I do for a living. It's been a cornerstone of my career for over a decade now, and I get to help brands like Hungry Planet, the most delicious, nutritious plant-based meat, tell their stories and make an impact with consumers online, and in doing so, I'm constantly speaking to people. And with the help of the world's most talented team, I'm blown away by my team constantly. The content that we create reaches millions of eyeballs every year, and all across the country and across the planet. So I'm really grateful for the chance to get to speak to a like-minded, curious, and brilliant and digitally driven room full of you all today who are actively choosing to listen to me and want to connect about a topic that I feel really passionately about. The thing is that we're now all so deeply integrated in social media and this constant state of connectivity that we sometimes forget the impact that it has on our real world. We forget that every time that we're posting and scrolling and liking, that we are engaging with real people. There's another person on the other side of that screen. And every time we make a statement online, we're choosing how we represent ourselves and our beliefs. And every time we log in, we're building our personal brand. I'm really excited to dive into PAC with you guys, and I continue to be blown away by the minds at Principia. I've had the opportunity to have a handful of Principia grads and students on my team, and just want to express my gratitude again. But when I was asked to speak to a largely student base, I was like, we should really kick this off by doing some math and understanding what your experience with social media has been compared to mine. So I did some eye-opening math, and it wasn't depressing at all to hear that you guys were born when I was in high school. Most of you were. And around the time that I graduated high school was what Jacqueline referred to as Web 2. Cell phones were gaining in popularity, but smartphones were not a thing yet. Almost no one, I can't really recall anyone that I know having full-blown access to the internet through their phone in high school. We still had to head to the computer to get to the internet. Social media was budding, but we knew big things were coming. And because of this opportune difference in our age, I thought it'd be great to shed a little bit of light on what life was like then compared to what life is like now for a professional in marketing. So really quick, I thought it would be fun for us all to take a second and really consider a time, like in the last 5 years, that you were in a room where you knew for sure there was not a smartphone present. Can you honestly think of one? So imagine life used to always be like that. We used to get our news from television screens, and we would order clothes from paper catalogs, like without having a real life person tell us all about the fabric and the color and give us a preview. We would borrow our friends' magazines and use the Dewey Decimal System. And I have a very distinct memory of my older cousin using her landline phone to call a number that was referred to as time and temp, that you would literally get the time and temperature when you called. And there's one person in this room that knows what I'm talking about. I just really want to emphasize that it was not that long ago that we communicated with each other in a completely different way. We found about hair products and style trends and new foods and, of course, our politics and fashion in a much more siloed fashion. And I just want to say that as someone growing up in the Midwest in the early 2000s, it was certainly no beacon of progressive style. It really wasn't until I was kicking off my college education that Facebook became a thing. And then you had to have a .edu address to be able to log in. And years later, I got an invitation to join Pinterest because you had to be invited to start pinning and planning your life out with carefully curated photos. And Jacqueline and I were just talking about this yesterday, and I think maybe it's time we form a knitting circle and we can... But all of you digital natives, you guys have been building your brand online, whether you know it or not, for probably longer than you should have been, right? Making decisions about how you were represented online before you even realized it. From selecting the perfect username to posting on Facebook in your tweens, to I've heard of these archaic Tumblr accounts that you would write very angsty teen blogs in. You've cobbled together your internships on LinkedIn and ridiculously embarrassing photos from, again, those tween years were posted without your consent. And there's been a cookie crumb trail that has followed your digital footprint across the web since basically the time you were born. On top of that, your generation has been exposed to digital advertising and regularly placed in this marketing funnel much earlier in life than those that came before you. Social media platforms that my generation dabbled in for fun were largely the foundation for how you've learned to communicate with each other. And CNN just reported last year a third of parents of children aged 7 to 9 reported their children using social media, and half of kids aged 10 to 12. So that means with kids, middle school and younger, mostly using their phones and social media like YouTube for kids to consume media like Blippi, everything else my child watches, and older children using their time on social to communicate digitally with social media apps, sending texts, and occasionally answering the phone when their parents call. We are all online at all times now. We are surrounded by information and ads and imagery and the latest breaking news. And in fact, as Jacqueline stated yesterday, we see between 5,000 and 10,000 ads now from the time that we wake up until the time that we go to sleep at night. And that's double what we were seeing in 2007. So we are starting our lives as digital consumers, intimately connected with brands and influencers who feel so close to us that our children recite jingles as lullabies and know how to spell YouTubers' names before even spelling their own. And our highlight reels are constantly running, and we are building our memories through very carefully selected filters. Now, I'm not a social psychologist, but for well over a decade, every single day, it's been my passion and my profession to effectively strategize brand messaging and build relationships with digital consumers where they are, which is online, on the platforms that they're on. And while creating impactful and actionable messaging through digital ads, of course, we're always going to work to target specific audiences and welcome them to a whole new idea or product that they never knew that they couldn't live without. Carefully constructed ads are built with comprehensive data that's collected from apps, your search history, other social posts that you've liked or saved, comments you've left, pages you've followed, and even pieces that you've been tagged in by others. So strategists like me or Jacqueline, we craft custom messaging that makes you feel seen and heard and catered to. And great messaging is part of a marketing funnel that feels way less like a sales construct and more like a really good friendship. So whether you like it or not, that moment you power on your cell phone and open your social app or browse the web, your relationship with countless brands begins. And you can bet that that relationship comes with a price tag. So this is a worldwide, I thought it was awesome that Jacqueline shared, I believe it was the US trend. So worldwide, you can see Facebook, of course, is still dominating. YouTube, still popular. WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And then, what do we have? Facebook's Messenger is still coming in down there. So I pulled some of the more popular ones, but are you surprised to see Facebook has remained the most popular for so many years? They really have a stronghold, but again, we all know they are losing their market share with all of the new, instantly gratifying, quick, easy to digest media options that are out there. So I pulled just how much time we're spending on social. Worldwide, on average, we're spending an average of 2.5 hours per day. And I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised the United States was right around the average. I guess I just made the assumption, understanding how connected I am and those around me, it feels a lot more like probably longer than that. With countries like Nigeria coming in at about 4 hours per day, and Japan coming in actually just under an hour at 51 minutes average per day. And brands, they're going to spend over $170 billion advertising on social media in 2022 alone. Presenting services and goods to you on these free social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest that remain free for you to use them because they're garnering data about you that make it faster and easier for a person like me to show you what I'm selling you and convince you that people just like you already love it. So if something is free, you are the product. I heard that quote for the first time when I was in, I believe it was a media ethics or media literacy class. And it's always stuck with me. Number one, because I love free samples. Like, who doesn't? But I think it's really eye-opening because very often we accept these samples and free services and free opportunities, especially in the digital world, without the expectation of reciprocity. But I'm here, I'd like to remind you there is no such thing as a free lunch, and it's definitely not free to gram your lunch. So over the years, clickbait has become much easier for us to dodge because we all know that it's a thing now. Apps are being a bit more transparent, and the average consumer is growing a healthy level of cynicism surrounding digital media. Except for my mom. I think she's still learning. But with every opt-out and unsubscribe or unfollow, marketers are adding an extra tool in their toolkit to help proudly display the latest and greatest to you Again, in a way that doesn't feel like you're being sold to. Because social media is ever present and omnipresent, it's helped us develop these robust omnichannel ecosystems and campaigns that are quite literally everywhere you want to be now. By now, it's likely that you guys are itching to glance at your phone and see what messages you might have missed. Check out maybe likes that are accumulating on a post you made earlier, or even thinking about that celebrity-loved product that you should have ordered, or where you guys want to go for dinner tonight. And because of those near 10,000 ads that we know we're exposed to, I'm pretty confident in saying that those considerations you're having right now, rather than listening to me intently, those are likely inspired by the digital media that you've consumed. So, as a mother and a marketing professional, an elder millennial, and someone who is 1,000% addicted to social media, I am in the unique position to analyze memories of a childhood that was unaffected by YouTube and Instagram and a world without spam bots, all while watching my own child build core memories with a tablet in his hand. And I've seen a world without likes and digital influencers, but now make a living bridging the gap between consumers and brands online by harnessing social media's undeniable influence. So, as mentioned before, we are born in a marketing funnel, we go to sleep in the funnel, we wake up in the funnel, and not everyone realizes that they're in this funnel yet. So I thought today would be really great to point out some of the not so obvious nuances of the stages of a marketing funnel, so you're better able to identify either the points of friction in your own consumer experience or feel better educated and empowered about the brands that you're engaging with online. I want you to think about awareness, that top level of the funnel, as the first date. Chances are you are somewhat familiar with this person you're headed out to coffee with, but they're going to bring their A game and they're going to try to set themselves apart from the rest of their competition. The awareness stage, brands are showing you content that clearly explains who they are and what they do. And you could also consider the awareness stage as the introduce yourself to the class part of a marketing funnel. You have just a few seconds, I'm seeing in the analytics provided by Meta, to capture someone's attention and really get your messaging across. Literally, like 4 to 5 seconds. So, as you begin to form more new first impressions, consider what you can say in 4 seconds that's going to actively summarize yourself, and accurately, rather, summarize yourself. Like 4 seconds doesn't feel like a lot, but you'd be surprised to see what some brands can do. Brands use the awareness stage to allow that 84% of users who search online before making a purchase to best identify them when they are in the market. You're not likely to make an immediate purchase after being exposed to one piece of awareness content, but while you're at the top of the funnel, you're definitely being shown all the reasons that you should keep sliding down, and brands are getting to know you better too. So brands that do awareness content on social media well realize that you're only just getting to know each other. So they're not coming in hot with sales and buy now messaging. They're really showing you the value that they could bring to your life and enticing you to be part of their community. So a few really quick examples of some recent brand awareness content that I enjoy are...
Hungry Planet gave me some of their plant-based meats to try, and I fell in love. 75% less fat, 31% fewer calories. Now on to the absolute best part. What does it taste like? It's a win for me and my family. What are you waiting for? Give it a try.
So do you notice here how this brand has thoughtfully repurposed some influencer content that proudly displays the brand imagery right there in the beginning, and Authentically use the storytelling. This particular influencer, she's a mom, she's an athlete, and her following looks to her for really solid advice on nutrition and taking care of yourself, but also convenience. So as a brand that's looking to speak to all of those value props, it's really special when you can collide with an influencer who also enjoys those things. I found this Windex ad that I thought had a lot of personality. It's super striking as you're walking by. You have this very drastic impairment of your vision, and displaying that iconic blue Windex bottle. I think it's fair to say that Windex has done a fantastic job of brand awareness, because how many times have you guys purchased off-brand Windex and just still referred to it as Windex? The same for Kleenex or other brands like that. So lastly, for brand awareness, this ethical, established beauty company shows the rich texture of their new product and entices you with key benefits and a social giveaway. So they're blending that fun, memorable, and practical solution for something that's something needed in everyday life in this style of content. So I'd love for you to just take a second, think of a brand that you feel does a solid job of introducing themselves, or can you even name a brand that you followed after just one exposure? Because, surely there's many brands that you've seen and not followed, so when you are intrigued and enticed to follow after just one exposure to a new brand now, I'd like you to take a second in your personal life and consider what it was that hooked you. So if we want to continue to go down with this dating analogy, further down the funnel, it looks like you've accepted a second date with a brand. Consideration content popping up in your social media feed brings you closer together with the accounts that you're following. So if you're beginning to feel more empowered and educated and connected to a brand, but you haven't made a purchase yet, you're most likely still in this part of the funnel. During this time, you're seeing more reasons to believe populate from brands that you're engaging with. So brands maximizing their content in this stage are answering questions you didn't know you had. They're sharing factoids in a really intriguing way and providing credible solutions to pain points in your life. Consideration content latches onto the psychology of sharing, allowing brands to piggyback onto social post trends made by users. And they're making it fun. Like, who knew finding out what pizza topping that you identify with most is going to connect you with your next favorite product? Brands that are killing the consideration game are educating you about themselves while seamlessly interacting with the things you care about, like pizza. Great consideration content is going to educate and inform, provide a solution, and inspire you to share and engage. So people, of course, we know the psychology of sharing and social proof. People love to know real people already love what they're planning to purchase. And brands, of course, love knowing that they can latch onto that social proof and bolster their differentiation by adding testimonials and more influencer content to their lineup. So again, you can think of the last time that you made a purchase because a friend recommended something, or a time you didn't make a purchase because someone said, no, that didn't work out for me. Statista has reported that 90% of social users have engaged with an influencer at a minimum of once a week. And I am skeptical that the other 10% probably just don't know what an influencer is. Because of this, social media has broadly and effectively it's expanded our friend group. Brands have even become really great at disguising themselves as one of your friends by seamlessly giving you recommendations coming from others to purchase from them. So, brands are harnessing the power of social proof with influencer marketing, tapping into the trust that micro and macro influencers have established with their following. And they are willing to pay handsomely for it. In the U.S. alone, influencer marketing, marketers have reported that they intend to pay $5 billion this year for just that one particular style of marketing. And worldwide, $15 billion. This social proof comes with the proof of burden, though. So calculating ROI, like Jacqueline discussed yesterday, through third-party tactics, helps marketers really measure the success that they see through influencer marketing. And it's also helped influencers be a little bit held accountable for what they're putting out there. So lucky for all of us, more influencer content, more e-commerce tools. It's calling for more accountability. And it's making it easier for all of us to calculate the effectivity of influencer campaigns. So no matter the funnel structure, all roads lead to home, and in just a second we will talk about conversion. But those consideration brands that have really latched on.
Favorite cleaning product at the moment is called Force of Nature, and I use it on everything. I use it here, here, here. Oop. Always replacing toilet paper rolls. Here, 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 and here. Oops, might as well use it here too. Force of Nature doesn't include any toxic chemicals. That means it's safe around kids and pets. Meow. So what's in it? Just salt, vinegar, and water. You fill the electrolyzer up with tap water, add your cleaning capsule, and hit the button. Electricity transforms these ingredients into a powerful cleaner and sanitizer just as effective as bleach. Code LindsayG40 gets you 40% off plus free shipping on Force of Nature bundle purchases.
So this Force of Nature product, using Lindsay Girk as their influencer, I mean, I think they did a fabulous job of breaking down all of the benefits of that product, even how the product works, and making it fun. That's a lot more engaging to see a real live human enjoying a product in their home than it would be to watch a graphic about something similar, right?
Best blonde hair.
Then you color it dark.
The hair is still over-processed.
Treat over-processed hair with Olaplex 3 for strength and Olaplex 8 for
Ava
moisture.
also wants you to get regular trims and cut down on direct heat styling.
Follow for more tips.
Pretend this.
I think that, in particular, is a really good example of an advertisement that is made to appear very native within the content that it's appearing in on the platform. As you're scrolling through, that does not immediately scream to you. This is an ad that was paid for and organized by professionals. It looks like an influencer that most likely just really has something cool to share and is educating you on how to take better care of your hair. Oh wait, he's showing you why you should use Olaplex. And yeah, that one struck me as a really well executed choice. And lastly, this ad from Free People, I think, does a really great job of highlighting those super clear benefits and call to action, but it does that great education and information in a fun, like, this is what the color green means about you, and providing a solution to those gaps in your spring wardrobe. So by the time you've reached the conversion stage, it's clear you've got some interest in the category, the brand, the intent to follow along. For a brand using social media to keep you interested and engaged, it's now time to seal the deal. In the conversion stage, brands have moved beyond an introduction, persuasion, fun quizzes, and GIFs or GIFs. And they are ready for you to buy what they are selling. And let me reiterate that. They are selling you something. You've done a little research now, and you've probably even stalked a few similar accounts. but you're so close to the bottom of the funnel. And as a marketer, this is the easiest stage of the funnel to measure success. So depending on the particular digital campaign's objectives, like signing up for a newsletter or smashing that subscribe button, actually making a purchase on a website, or giving a brand a follow, now's the time where you're going to see a lot more clear and direct call to action. So this is where brands are going to really reel you in with deals and pricing mentions and try to remove every obstacle for purchase. Apps like to Know It or Link in Bio have really helped brands integrate into Instagram a more seamless e-com, social commerce way to shop. So again, when you're cruising those spring looks of your favorite influencer and they casually mention that you can click to see where they snagged that sweater, that's a call to convert, and you've nearly made it to the end of the funnel. And after you've converted, it's time for brands and marketers like me to live up to the promises that we have made you. If the purchase experience is great and all the expectations have been met, we really want to work on making this a forever thing. So to reiterate, great conversion content is going to provide a clear call to action, swipe up, subscribe, or follow, and it's going to remove any obstacle. So have a button that's very obvious, and the psychology that Jacqueline was sharing behind just the tiniest design element of how a button looks can also help marketers strengthen their conversion. So I have a couple of examples of conversion content, and it actually just made me giggle because I obviously clicked through this ad so that I could share it as part of my presentation, but now it has been stalking my LinkedIn page. So good for them. But this is an example of the clear call to action, the download now. You see buy now or book now, and working with that educational, but the download our one page to find out the emotional intelligence can drive performance results for you. Like, they are very clearly spelling out their value prop and telling you exactly what you need to do now to move further. And this ad I thought was also really fun. So after you have, again, made that conversion and every promise has been lived up to, this is where loyalty comes in. Dropping further down the funnel, we arrive at loyalty, and as a digital marketer, it's definitely one thing to gain a follower or make a sale, but it's a whole other feat now to retain that customer and build a lasting relationship. Social media has made it, oh, I thought I hit a button. Social media has made it much easier for brands like me to share our mission and connect with consumers and build lasting relationships that feel meaningful. Brands and influencers can and should drop you a thank you for following, thank you for your purchase. Here is a series of emails that's really going to remove any doubt that you have on how to get the best experience from your purchase. And nurturing right now in the loyalty stage, that's the name of the game. Great brands should create content that's built around ensuring they're at the top of your mind the next time you are craving what they're serving up. So wonderful loyalty content is going to incentivize interactions, feel highly customized to you, nurture your relationship, and highlight mission-centric brand motivations, should there be any. Being loyal to a brand should not feel like it's transactional. It should never feel like you're being sold to or harassed or that you're trapped in an endless cycle of retargeting. Brands who are rocketing their marketing funnel have built a consumer base that's truly pleased with their purchase experience, and they continue to provide engaging experiences across social that have created this elongated marketing funnel. And not all brands do this, and not all purchase experiences take a user to the very last level, the peak of excitement for a marketer. Advocacy. So before we dive deep into advocacy, let's talk about these wonderful examples of loyalty content.
As a Cuban American in the diaspora, my goal is to remind other Hispanic and Latino folks about how important it is to stay unified and to not let where you're from or your particular flavor or shade or how you take your coffee keep you from making connections with people. I've never been one to let people decide who I am and who I'm supposed to love. But at the same time, I value my traditions so much because they remind me that we have more in common than not. Yes, as people, but especially as Latin.
So you'll see on these 3 examples of loyalty content, they're building brand loyalty using that hook of a sense of community, continued incentive to purchase, the feeling of belonging. And if you identify with this heartfelt brand use that Target has deployed, chances are you're going to be feeling even more connected to Target as a consumer than you did before taking in this piece of content. So as I mentioned earlier, the stuff marketers dream of, it's advocacy. So have you ever carefully curated a flat lay of your latest shopping haul or your favorite products that you happen to love? Or if you've ever told friends about a restaurant, or better yet, even posting and tagging a restaurant before you've taken your first bite of food, sharing a story about a funny TikTok rabbit hole that you fell down watching, using your personal time to advocate for a brand. These brands that you're going out of your way to talk about on social media have succeeded in making you a brand advocate. And that's definitely not something that every brand can say, right? Think about all of the things that you purchase every day that you're not like, oh, yeah, better show this off. So if you've arrived at advocacy for an online brand that you've connected with on social media, that means that both your time and the marketer's time is well spent. And piggybacking onto what Jacqueline said last night, the great thing about the evolution in digital marketing right now is this flood of really authentic content like what we're seeing on TikTok. Marketers are using phenomenal user-generated content pieces to appeal to you and attaching your brands to an experience that others are having and building a relationship that feels really meaningful and adding value to your consumer experience. Great advocacy content will repurpose user-generated content, use digital experiences to strengthen brand building, and here are a few pieces of advocacy content that struck me recently. So here we have this mom influencer. She shares a lot of content about what you can do with your family as you grow. And she is specifically calling out Betty Crocker and how excited she is to show you this particular recipe that they're going to make. Or all the hot finds of what you can stock up with on Costco. Can I see a show of hands for any of us who've seen a similar video like this and kind of mentally made a grocery list? Like, oh, I didn't know they had that there, and I'm going to try it. Yeah.
Pork gyoza.
Another shameless Hungry Planet plug.
That's really flavorful. One more for good measure. Yeah, I will definitely get these again, for sure.
So is anyone here into ASMR or even heard about it? Yeah, all right. So before I was a marketer professionally, I didn't know what ASMR was exactly, but I knew I really liked those super soothing stories that you could watch on YouTube, like someone's rock collection. I know. I don't know why I told you that. But this particular hobby that people have has hit this sweet spot with virality, and it's creating marketing content for brands that is attaching itself to people in a whole new way. And I can tell you, this particular piece of content, we didn't contract this. This person actually just pulled our product off the shelf, sat down, and wanted to film herself eating it and talking about it. So it's super interesting to capture content of people eating and it still execute as a really wonderful piece of marketing. This does, for sure. And I think the fact that it's authentic makes it even more special. Evaluating online consumer patterns definitely can feel a bit creepy. And I didn't want to walk you guys through this funnel today to shy you away from enjoying the positive things about the digital world that we live in. My husband actually at one point was like, come on, you need to add some good stuff in here because you're going to scare them. But the truth is, the more informed that we are about our digital world that we live in and the tools that marketers use, the more empowering it can be for us. I think it's really inspiring to better understand the foundation of the messaging that marketers use to tell really good stories, and remind you all that you're always in the driver's seat of your digital experience. And you're able to decide who you're interacting with and making votes for brands that you love with your dollars. So sure, there's a whole horde of scammers out there online, but for every spam bot, there's also a team of very authentic people who are actively working to learn how to better serve you. Brands actually deploy millions of dollars to dive deep into the consumer psyche and solve problems for shoppers. But thanks to the magic of social media polls, small brands, mom and pop shops, they can do that too. These types of studies and assessments are now available to everyone because of digital marketing. Brands can keep an eye on what fans love and can respond and right wrong so much easier now. With the direct connection to you, the consumer, brands can and should be able to ensure that they've lived up to the promise that they've made you in a really authentic way. Our constant state of connectivity has made us all savvier consumers. We've got access to reviews, testimonials, comparisons for virtually everything we're interested in. And our voices as consumers are more powerful than ever. But with great power comes great responsibility. With information in abundance, there is literally no excuse for you to make uninformed purchases and decisions. As you are moving through a funnel for your buyer's journey, it's really up to you to balance media literacy against brand marketing tactics to make informed decisions. You have the power to choose to connect with brands that align with your beliefs and that are living up to those promises that they've made you. And social media has the power to make consumers better too. Social media has given consumers a medium to broadcast the best and the worst of their experiences to their unique network. So sure, we're all inundated with photos of our aunt's vacation, and we can tell you what our best friend in middle school had for lunch. But it's also really powerful that now we can crowdsource virtually any details that we want about just about anything to our personal network and all corners of the world. You've got the power to share your own authentic reviews, like writing testimonials, tagging brands and content, and you can engage in really meaningful conversation about the work that companies are doing to better inform your purchase decisions. As an architect of your very own personal brand on social media, it's really up to you to curate a feed that's meaningful to you and authentic to the beliefs that you hold dearly, and your opinions are now just as esteemed as a Better Business Bureau rating is. Do people even care about what the Better Business Bureau says anymore when they have everyone they know and trust telling them about a consumer experience? So you're really never in a position to sit idly by and hope for the best. Digital brands that you're engaged with, you've now got the power to be an advocate, and you have the power to hold brands accountable, and you're able to unfollow, unlike, and unsubscribe at any time. That's all. Here, I'll go to that.
Okay, I do have a question, Becky.
Yeah.
Okay. So for companies, when I think about like when I'm purchasing, especially when it comes to like food, I always kind of think of like, well, not always, but sometimes when I've like seen things like in ads or just kind of like almost like whistleblowers of a company's like ethical decisions, like for example, Fairlife, like I really struggle purchasing their product because of the videos that came out about like animal abuse and things like that. So I was wondering, just because as a consumer, I have those ethical decisions as well, how do brands and marketers come back from like whistleblowing or kind of exposure in a really negative way? Like how does that come back to like kind of bring us back into that funnel for that brand?
That's an awesome question and a really bright light. Yeah, Kiki. So when something has happened that reflects on a brand negatively, or if a brand has indeed made decisions that are then being broadcasted to the world that maybe don't align with the story that they have told you for years as a consumer, I think that the really positive thing is that, number one, we're able to exchange that information, but number two, we can use these tools to right wrongs. So I think with careful consideration of, in your example, like a public relations crisis team would think, okay, here's exactly what happened. Here's how it negatively impacts us and how it doesn't align with what we truly want. So how can we right those wrongs and better tell the story, better serve our consumers? And I think being honest about what happened and admitting to it is way more powerful than denial. I like to take that approach and always have with what we call trolls. You could obviously hide, ban, or block a troll for saying something that maybe doesn't align with your opinion, but it's also a really great opportunity to educate and answer the question or have counter conversation about what it is that they're saying. So depending on what happens, of course, like I can't speak for Fairlife and I can't speak for any brand that's been in crisis mode, but I think that the brands who really do bounce back are the ones who own up to what has happened and they address it in a really honest way.
Thank you so much. This presentation really resonated for me as an entrepreneur who worked for a troublemaker entrepreneur back in the 80s. He was a guy that had to drop out of school, didn't fit in, had goofy black hair, and he was the only person that would hire me in a recession. He started a little tech company out of a garage in Northern Cal. And I was part of the first 500 to see and market the Mac for Apple. And I was an art major at Prin. I'm class of 80 alum. Art and art history, a geek. It didn't fit in. Through becoming a mom and not really loving cleaning chemicals, and my dear husband didn't trust cleaning ladies, so I got a friend from church gave me this cleaning cloth. It was a very, very special microfiber, high-end microfiber, and I made, long story short, I had to make some lemonade out of that lemon because I really didn't like cleaning, but I found I could cut the job down by 80% of time to clean with water only. And so I gave them away, sold them just so I could get a discount. And for the last 24 years, I've had my own company, Microfibers Unlimited. I'm the importer and have my own label. Now, I've been through a lot with this. I've had my mission statement stolen off of my website, which told me I need to trademark certain things. And I have made very little money until this year. And this year, by working on the same name, off of the same name, Microfibers Unlimited, and we know, I'm a Christian Scientist, by the way, by faith, and unlimited is just who we all are. Everybody in this room and everybody on Zoom is unlimited. But I've worked with a wonderful ad professional who's helped me to message very simply. And so the instruction sheet, and I'd love input on this. I'm actually looking for a focus group. So if anybody in this room would like to work with me as a focus with my marketing people, we have a 3-word motto, which we're going to trademark. Shh, don't tell. It's wet, wipe, done. And that's it. Those are the instructions. Disinfects better than a chemical. And when I saw your little Windexy lady up there saying, she was like spraying it in her mouth, I'm like, great, but how about water? And so, we have a very low budget, so where do you get the cute little girl who's drinking a glass of water and the caption reads, have you ever read a warning label on a glass of water? You go to your Sunday school and pull out Warren Huff's granddaughter, and little Bailey is super cute on my website. So anyway, everything you're saying here is really helping me go forward because there are times when I really feel like an imposter. An art major from Arizona State, became a Christian Scientist through healing. Talk about a geek oddball that doesn't fit in. But ladies and guys, just follow your heart and listen to the inner voice, even if it says, what? You think you can go up against IBM with a stupid fruit-named computer? Well, they had 97% of market share, and we had 3%. And now IBM doesn't even have a PC. They spun it off, and everybody's got these. So I'm very grateful to God, and I was led to come to this conference, and I didn't know why. I thought it's because I wanted to stay at the guest house and eat Prin rolls.
These Prin rolls, I keep hearing all about them.
They're in the freezer. Shh, don't tell. They're in the freezer. So this has really helped me, but I'm just really at the beginning stages, and I love the idea of the advocacy, super helpful. And, another serendipitous thing about social media, you never know what's going to pop out. I'd never heard of Steve Harrison. I had heard of Jack Canfield, and they were doing a book writing workshop that I signed up for. And so just last week, I got the edited version of being interviewed about my new book, which is Stop People Pleasing and Listen to Your Inner Voice. And I was interviewed by none other than the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul in a clip that I can use for publicity. Now, these things happen not because I have money or influence. I'm just a geek, art major. But, and I don't fit in. But listening to the inner voice takes you where you need to do on the budget that God has, which is always abundant. And the abundance of what you offered here is really blessing me, so thank you. And see me after class if you want to be in my focus group. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, geeks and art majors are my favorite. That's me. Did anyone else have?
Thank you so much. I too appreciated learning all about that and getting a more focused
overview of the funnel. I'm definitely a full participant in the funnel. I can guarantee you that. I was wondering if you could speak to the way that the pandemic influenced, I guess, influencers and how branding has changed since then, or if it's brought more people to the advocacy stage a lot faster. Something that I've noticed is like just a greater presence and people just sitting down, like you were saying, and doing ASMR with brands just for the fun of it and tagging them and saying, this is cool, I want to share it. I was just wondering if the pandemic had any influence in that, just with everybody at home for so long, with less of a chance to be out and exploring certain things in person.
Yeah. So we were just talking about this at dinner last night. Really, the pandemic, of course, touched everything and it impacted everything. And as far as influencer interaction with brands, I think that the pandemic offered an abundance of opportunity, because if you think, we weren't reaching out to tons of talent crews and bringing people into studios to film content. We were looking to socially distance, and what's more socially distant than ordering something online, having it delivered to your door, and getting to enjoy it in the comfort of your own home. And I think a lot of influencers took that time, and a lot of people, I mean, they weren't working, or they weren't working in the regular setting that they normally were, so found themselves creating content online, sharing, maybe as a coping mechanism for all the stress they were going through. But I think that we definitely saw an uptick in influencer content during that time. And I think that especially like health-focused brands that were looking to nurture and help people feel better about the decisions that they were making or saving money, like that. Yeah, there was definitely some impact that COVID had on influencer marketing. Yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed as a photographer, I've worked with some people who are influencers, and I see them a lot on social media, on TikTok and Instagram, and I have been noticing that a lot of influencers who are really popular receive a ton of merchandise from brands daily. And I even saw one TikToker who's a beauty influencer. She had come home from like a trip she had taken and was showing this room filled with 50 packages. And she was like, it's gonna take me a while to sort through all this. And so in response to like receiving all these things, I've noticed a lot of these influencers are doing quote unquote PR hauls, where they'll kind of expose like, this is my life as an influencer. These are the things I've gotten from PR agencies and brands. And they'll kind of just do it all at once, like show like, I got these from this place, this from this really cute thing from this. And I'm curious, like from a branding marketing perspective, if brands are like really like okay with something like that, or if they're like, I don't want to be lumped in with these other companies in a blip of a second where they just show it. But I've noticed, you know, when I'm looking at those videos as a consumer, I do pay attention to what they're showing.
Yeah.
And it does kind of register in that subconscious level, like you had mentioned, of making that little checklist of like, well, maybe I'll check that out, maybe I'll try that later. So I'm just curious if you notice anything on your side of things with that type of thing going on.
Yeah. Well, so in my role at Hungry Planet, we have perishable meats. So actually, it's not our strategy to just send off a bunch of stuff and hope for the best, because that's just for a number of reasons. It's not ideal. We don't want to promote food waste or anything like that. So I think ideally, the way that I like to approach influencer marketing is to try to establish the connection with an influencer first, and then send product once you know that it makes sense for them. Because yeah, as more and more brands are aware of influencer marketing and more influencers are using these product hauls and speaking directly to all of these things that they get, yeah, it becomes this like a double-edged sword, right? You're wanting to get that exposure, even if it's a blip in time. You're like, oh yeah, that's great. But obviously everyone would love to have a 10 slide series of stories on an Instagram that's only about them. So I think that, to your point, by being part of a collection of items, it's not a loss, especially if the collection of items you're featured in are complementary to your product. It's always nice to be in good company, and you can even get a little bit of that social proof off of being right next to some very well-respected brands. Also, I think it's really just a side note. I really enjoy influencers who use their hauls and their opportunities to give back and know that there is no way they are humanly going to go through, it's not humanly possible to go through tons and tons of products in the time that they're given to use them, and so they'll gift them and donate them, and I think that that's really special. But yeah, I could talk about this for a really long time, so I hope that answered.
Thank you. And I wondered if I could ask you a little bit more about your marketing at Hungry Planet specifically. And I was just thinking about the fact that you probably have a lot of different demographics as potential customers, people who are like committed vegans or vegetarians, people who are more thinking about like health and lifestyle stuff, people like me who maybe care a lot about climate change or trying to eat less meat but don't feel very happy about it. So I guess I'm just putting together some ideas from last night and this morning. I'm wondering kind of like how you approach that. Do you try to come up with marketing that targets all of those groups at once, or do you use social media to target different demographics differently? So if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the really special thing about Hungry Planet is we have so many differentiators, and the idea of being a mission-centric brand, the more people, of course, that we can reach, the better. But the differentiator, like being truly nutritious and being healthy, that appeals to so many. In fact, it's still shown that those that make the switch to plant-based, it's most likely because they're choosing for health reasons, although environmental concerns are becoming much stronger reason behind a purchase. So to answer your question as far as tactics for targeting an audience when you know that your audience could be a number of different, is it moms that I'm talking to? Am I talking to people concerned with their cholesterol? Do I want to talk to people who want to just get dinner on the table in 15 minutes? The awesome thing about social media is that it is so wide-reaching that you can have beautiful brand messaging that touches on so many points in one piece of content. And through the magic of targeting options that are available on the platforms and really thought-out strategy, you can develop content that speaks to those different verticals. So, again, engaging with influencers that are like-minded, that hopefully speak to those consumers that you want to reach, and promoting content to those verticals in particular. So I think, there's several ways you can go about it, and I think the perfect blend is where we try to land at. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We are going to have Faith in Action in here at 11 with Andrew. We're going to have a panel at 1:30 from speakers across the world. That's going to be an amazing one. And then another one this evening at 7:30. She's going to be tuning in from Canada, so that's another worldwide one as well. So please come back. We'd love to see you all, and thank you for coming.